All right, hello and welcome to today's Envisâge interview with Ana Gavassa. Ana Gavassa is a senior instructor at the American University of Sharjah in UAE. Ana has lived in Bolivia, Colombia, the United States, and United Arab Emirates. Thank you for joining us today. And today we'll be talking about the experience of entering grandmotherhood and perceptions of grandmothers. So my name is Kat Huang, and I'm here with my co-host Alexandre Gosselin. Together we co-founded Envisâge, a project for learning about and discussing age bias and discrimination towards women. This year in November 2020, Envisâge will be hosting an international online conference to discuss ageism towards women. So let's take a brief moment first to introduce ourselves. Alex?
Good evening, Kat. Good evening, Anna from Bangkok, Thailand. So my name is Alexandre Gosselin. I identify as a student, as an activist, a feminist, and also a traveler. I use the pronouns he, him, his.
Hi, Alex and Kat. Good morning. Right now I'm in Florida. My name is Ana Gavassa. I am a freelancer. I'm a graphic designer. I'm a college instructor in the United Arab Emirates, and I'm a grandmother and a mother.
Great, thank you. And my name is Kat Huang, and I'm a student, a recycled material crafter, and an aspiring feminist and anti-racist, and I use she, her, hers pronouns. All right, thank you everyone. So at Envisâge, we are trying to identify and dismantle ageism in our communities. So adjusting the ways in which we think about, talk about, and interact with people of different ages. So before jumping into the core of our interview today, I would first like to ask you, Ana, how you would define ageism. Where do you see ageism in your own community or perhaps in society in general? If you'd like, you could speak on your own relationship with ageism towards women.
So I think ageism is when you're being stereotyped because of your age, right? You're becoming older, and they just think you can't do anything anymore. You're too old. And basically, when you're 50, they think you're too old. And that's for me. I'm 51, and I'm like, I'm ready to start something new, right? So living in the United Arab Emirates, especially women are treated differently, right? They are treated that they have to be home and cooking and being with the children. But it's changing, right? It's changing because now we see more women in college, right? They're going towards, having a degree, and we can see more in the workforce, right? But I think in terms of the age, still have a little bit of a problem there, because when you turn 70 in the UAE, you have to go home, because that's not your home, right? So that's it. You are not needed anymore. Your skills that you have been, you have 40 years of experience in any company, they don't work anymore, and that's wrong, right? Because that's when the person has so much to input to the company, when they have the experience. And if you think about it, when you are right out of college, what do they ask? Experience, right?
Right.
Always is like 5 years of experience. But if you have 40 years of experience, that's like so much more benefit for any company in the world. And especially if you're a woman, right? But then still we have that thing that if you're a woman and you're 50 or even 60, you just have to go home. Go and do knitting, go and crochet, go and clean your house and cook, right? But they don't know how bad it is for the women to do that too. Now we're in a different kind of world that we have to be moving, and we have to be energized, and we have to, for all of these, if we do that, we have better health too, So everything is related, right? The mind, the body. If the mind and the body is healthy, then women of all ages will work better and keep working, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great. Thank you for sharing about your observations and experiences, for sure. Gendered age bias in the workplace is definitely a big issue that we're trying to understand and really learn about what we can do to make discrimination towards older women, women in midlife, middle-aged, try to figure out how we can be anti-ageist in that environment, professional environments, for sure.
Yeah.
So thank you. I think we'll probably try to circle back to stereotypes and prejudice a little bit later, but for now, let's jump into our main topic of entering grandmotherhood. And this is definitely an experience that not all humans go through, right? But it can surely be misunderstood and also subject to stereotypes, and it's deeply personal, right? So thank you for being willing to share with us your journey. And I think Alex would like to start us off.
Thank you so much. Yes, Anna, like you said, entering grandmotherhood and just being at the doorstep of grandmotherhood. So I'm a bit curious about maybe the before and the after, right? Because I'm assuming, I can only imagine that this is a life-changing experience. So I'm kind of wondering how this experience has been so far. Maybe is the conversations that you're having with the people in your entourage changing? Do you see differences? So I would like to hear you maybe a bit about this.
So for me, at the beginning, you don't know what to expect, right? Because you are a person that have desires, dreams. You are having a job, right? I'm working as a instructor. My life is busy, and when they tell you you're gonna be a grandmother, you think you have to leave everything behind. And some people do, because they say, oh, I will take care of the grandbaby, right? And some people retire just to do that. For me, I had the option to be with my granddaughter. I was making some numbers because I don't live with her, right? So I wanted to spend as much time with her as possible because my work allows it to be in summer and in winter vacation.
And sorry,
So
how old is she?
She's 18 months.
Okay.
Right? She was born in January 2019. So it was perfect because I was still on vacation when she was born. But I only stayed with her 1 week. And that was it. And I went back to work. So I didn't experience that in those 5 days or 7 days. I didn't have the time to embrace it. It was so new. After that, I was wondering how she was, and then I wanted to do so much with her, and I did stay with her 3 months and a half, and it was so life-changing because I realized that when I had my own kids, I didn't have time to think. I was so busy doing it, but not enjoying it, right? As a grandmother, you enjoy because you have the time to see every single thing she does, right? And now I think I'm 51, right? When I had my kids, I was too young. I didn't have. You think differently. I think that when you enter grandmotherhood, you think differently. You do things differently. You spoil them, like they always say. That's true. But you teach them, and you have the time to like they say, to smell the flowers, right? Because, and I see many things that my daughter doesn't have the time to see, and I love that. But then I have to go back, and because I have a life, that's what it is. Grandmothers sometimes give up their life to concentrate in their grandkids. When I'm with her, my life has a stop button. It's like I stop, like a movie. You stop, you pause your life, concentrate in her life, and it's all your life goes into her, right? Everything that she needs, and she needs to learn, and she's even learning sign language.
Oh, wow.
And that's precious.
Mm-hmm.
And you see the other world that a little baby can show you because you have the time to see it now. So being a grandmother is a all new experience in terms of learning. I learn all the songs again. You know, you need to learn all the songs, and and you become a little child, and you sit on the floor, and I'm glad I have the energy because I'm young, and the stereotype of, oh, the grandmother. I saw an article that shows a grandmother with white hair and very old and with her cane, and she can just see the grandkids from the distance. I don't want to do that. I want to be, you know, involved, and I want to teach her how to cook. The other day I was teaching her how to bake, and she's only 17 months. She was trying, you know. So I think you need to embrace it, but you don't have to stop your life. Because I'm a person, I still have maybe 20 years of work. I can be somebody that you know, I can do something for society still, and it doesn't have to be stop. I don't have to stop my life because of my granddaughter, right? Because then life is too short for me, right? You need to continue with your life, and then when it's time to retire, then you can enjoy more being a grandmother. And I still do, but I have to go back to work, right?
And maybe I would like to ask a question, because the word stereotypes was repeated, and I would like to ask maybe about gender roles, right? Because
Oh,
there's certain maybe stereotypes associated with being a grandmother, and maybe some stereotypes associated with being a grandfather that are different.
yes.
And I'm just wondering if you experienced this personally. Like, did you feel that your role has been different
Yes.
than your husband?
Yes, because we are ready to play, to give them food, to nurture them, to do everything. Grandfather is just ready to play. They don't want to do anything, not even changing a diaper, you see? And I'm like, why, right? It can be equal, but it's still that stereotype that women have to do everything and men can have just the play part, right? Every time I tell my husband, change the diaper, he's like, no, you do it. No, you do it. So that's bad, right? But that's the way the whole society is built, and it's a wrong thing to say, right? You have to be equal, but it's still. And why I stayed the longest? Because I was the grandma. The grandpa feels, I think the grandpa feels that they are intruding. They are not needed, right? And I think it's wrong. I think men and women can do the same thing, right? Even changing a diaper.
Yeah, I wonder how much of that has to do with, you know, I wonder how much carries over from previous parenting experience, and then, you know, maybe fear of the unknown can also keep us from jumping into certain activities.
But you know, my husband as a father, we were really young. He was 26 when we had our first daughter. This is the mom of my granddaughter. He was involved 100%.
Mm.
He was doing diapers. He was taking care of her. He was cooking. So I think it's just, I don't think he's tired, but it's just, he thinks it's my duty, right? It's my duty to do that. But, you know, so it's not about what he did before, but it's about what maybe society perceives in a grandfather.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really interesting. I was reading an article recently that was talking about how we're talking about, I guess, leaders and sort of famous people and how they're portrayed in the media. This one specific article talked to Hillary Clinton, and they mentioned that she was asked a question about her role as a grandmother, and that might be appropriate in a certain context, you know, if it's relevant. But they mentioned that her male peers were not asked the same question when they're also grandfathers. So, you know, it was almost like constraining her or just defining her by this part of her identity when she is many. She identifies in different ways, and being a grandmother is just one part of her. So yeah, that's a really interesting point that you make, that, you know, perhaps grandfathers and grandmothers have different expectations, societal expectations, or ideas of what their role should be, but maybe we can change that. Maybe we'll see.
Yeah, but I think it's society, right? Society is making that. Because it's society that maybe set the rules, but why?
Right, yeah. And I guess one question that I had related to that was, have you experienced any stereotyping as a grandmother yourself? We talked about, you know, you said the image of the frail, gray-haired older woman who's knitting and cooking. You know, that is one stereotype. Perhaps it's not everywhere, right, for everyone, but it definitely is something that we see in the media, for example. So have you experienced any type of discrimination based on your grandmotherhood?
No discrimination per se, but I think what they say is, you're so young. You're so young. Your grandma? Wow. So it's like, why not, right? Why the age has to do something with it, right? And also, I am a Latina, right? And my granddaughter is very white. And I have to kind of, if I'm outside, I don't know if they think I'm the nanny and not the grandma. So I kind of sometimes have to say, I am the grandmother. I have to tell them because they don't believe it. And this is not because of my age. This is not because I'm a woman, but it's because I'm a Latina and she has a different race. I'm white too, but I look Latina. She looks from, you know, from the north in America. So it's just discrimination in different way, maybe.
Sure.
But it's basically, you're so young. Like, what's wrong with it, right?
Yeah, that with me that resonates a bit with intersectional discrimination, right? Being discriminated based on different parts of your identity at the same time, you know, or maybe separately, but often it's all together who you are and how people perceive you. Well, we're kind of coming towards the end of our time here today. So I just wanted to thank you for sharing your experiences and perspectives with us. And we've definitely learned so much from your story. And we hope that our viewers can relate and reflect on their own perceptions of grandmothers in their own lives, in their communities, and take some action to think about that. So in closing, yeah.
So I just want to say to people, we can knit, we can crochet, but we can also be somebody with goals, dreams, passions. We can still work, but we still can be grandmothers.
Absolutely. Yeah. I love that. So I guess our name of this project is Envisâge, or Envisage in English. So that means imagining a future possibility, right? And at Envisage, we envisage or envisage a future that is age inclusive and anti-ageist, right? So how do you envisage a future that is age inclusive? What do you see that looking like?
So I think the whole point is that they have to appreciate what we have in terms of aging, because with age comes being smart, being productive still, being experienced. I think the age comes with so much experience, and we can enrich communities with what we know, right? And one more thing that I remember, every time I enter some Walmarts, they have an old person greeting you. And I love that because he's like a grandparent to somebody else, right? And he's working. So I think we need to focus on appreciating what they can give to society, men and women, in terms of age, because when you take that away from somebody that is old, they get depressed and depression, and they get sad. But if they know that they can be really useful for society, you make a better world.
Lovely. Okay, well, thank you very much for joining me, Ana Gavassa and Alexandre Gosselin.
Thank you.
More Envisâge interviews will be coming soon, so stay tuned. And for more information about Envisâge, feel free to check out our Facebook page at envisage.no.ageism, or head to our website to see our blog and learn more about the event coming up. The website is envisagenoageism.wixsite.com/official. And if you haven't already yet, RSVP to our Facebook event for the international conference.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much again, everyone, and take care.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.